of Lake Turkana. But I asked them to give me at least 1 year, and so I got into the job of setting up the 2 quality labs in Nairobi and Eldoret, a position that already started getting me into knowing how to interact with my superiors, the country director, other members of staff, the management board of the company in the country, suppliers of the different materials we required, the equipment we required for the 2 labs, working with the Kenya Bureau of Standards to set specifications for the different analytical work we wanted to do. And then, of course, also because a lot of things were new to me and had not been to the food industry. Of course, I didn't have much experience in terms of work. I would still go back to my lecturers at the University of Nairobi, who helped quite a bit. And those kind of experiences already and skills set me up for many more management roles. After 1 year, I transitioned to go to Turkana, and then left to Norway for a postgraduate diploma in fish processing technology at the University of Trondheim. And part of that, 4 months, was in the fisheries industry in Norway. Again, living in a foreign country, getting to work with different cultures, different foods, different environment from what I used to in our country, and of course in Turkana, very different because it's one of the coldest parts of the world. I came back home and took up the position of fish processing manager designate at the factory, where I worked with an expatriate for 1 year before I took over as fish processing manager. And after 2-3 years, I think I became the assistant general manager of the cooperative, where I was working with 6,000 fishermen. Of course, people in the Ministry of Cooperatives, other stakeholders in Turkana County. I was a member of the district steering group, in charge of development issues in the district then. I also, of course, worked again for quite some time, 5-6 years with the Norwegians. So I gave myself 7 years in service to the good people of Turkana County. But after some time, I thought I should go back to school. And in 1988, I went back to Egerton. I went to the university. This time it was Egerton University, where I became member of staff. A year later, I won a Commonwealth scholarship to go to the University of Reading in the UK for my master's program in food science. Came back 2 years after, 1.5 years to be exact, and went into teaching. Experiences again, teaching, interacting with the people in the food industry, experience I already had before that. Some of these, a lot of these skills, I mean, if, for example, you talk about voter education in the IEBC, these will be skills that come in very handy and be very useful to them indeed. So I was in Egerton for some time, and after 3 years, I was made head of department. I started a program in food science and technology. We had we had diplomas for quite some time when we were just coming in to appraise the department. And so I ran the department for about 4 years before I went for my PhD program at Cornell University in the US on a fellowship from the Sea Grant Institute, which was supported by the National Fisheries Service of the US. I worked on my PhD for 4 years and had a postdoc engagement at the same university for another year. And then after that, I went to Canada, worked there for 2 years, again in the food industry. And After the 2 years, I thought I should come back home. So I came back and I went back to Egerton University, where I still had my appointment, although I was on leave of absence for some time. Again, the teaching, the research work at the University of Reading, at Cornell University, back in Egerton University, management experience, supervision experience, human resource experience in the department, working with the stakeholders in the food industry, my colleagues, and so on and so on. These are experiences that I think, I'm sure this panel would welcome and would be useful to the IEBC. If you gave me this position, if you nominated me, and the president nominated me, and so I would really like to do that. Thank you, Chair. So after working in Egerton from 2006, when I came back to the university, I stayed on until 2012 when I went to Karatina University as an associate professor of food science, where the department was just starting, food science and nutrition was just starting at Karatina University. I took on the tutelage and started another program because they already had one program running. So within the 1 year when I was there, I started that program, recruited a few more staff, of course, with the help of the university administration. In 2012, an advert was put up in the national newspapers for commissioners of the Public Service Commission. I applied, and I was lucky. I got the position as commissioner of the Public Service Commission. So it started in 2013 until end of 2018, to be exact, about the 8th of January 2019. A position where I think we made a lot of difference under the headship of Professor Margaret Kobia and other very experienced and hardworking Kenyans who are commissioners worked with me during those 6 years in the Public Service Commission. We did quite a lot, Chair. I'm sure you must have seen a lot of the things we have done, from policies, from setting up the presidential system of government, helping the president to set his staff, recruiting principal secretaries, helping the cabinet secretaries, helping steer the public service into the presidential system of government. And I also represented the commission at the Kenya School of Government, where I was made chairman of the Human Resource Committee of the Council, where I helped consolidate the various institutes of the Kenya School of Government. You know, it was, before that time, it was a number of separate GTIs, government training institutes in Matuga, in Mombasa, in Embu, and then Baringo, and the main one in Lower Kabete. So I did quite a lot of that, helped them set up policies, guided them get their career progression guidelines, helped them set up the terms and conditions of service of employees, employed the first Director General, heads of the campuses. We renamed them campuses of the Kenya School of Government, not the GTIs anymore. And I was instrumental in that because I chaired that. So we put in quite a lot of work and very good work. And I'm sure if you have visited the Kenya School of Government today, it's different. And I think I did my level best to do the best I could. In fact, when I finished my term at the Public Service Commission in 2019, the first week of January, they co-opted me back into council in the Human Resource Committee. I said I can't go straight into the council because it would be a lot of work, because I was already appointed a Director of Research, Innovation and Extension at Karatina University, where I went back after my leave of absence at the PSC. So I'm still a co-opted member of the Human Resource Committee of Council of the KSG, because I think they thought that I had something good to offer. And so, Chair, in the interest of time, I'm sure a lot of other questions are going to come. Maybe I should stop there for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Can I ask if you are a registered voter?
Yes, I'm a registered voter in Akwamekwi village, and that is in Loda town, so that's where I register and vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
Prof, I have one more question for you. This is really just to get some clarification. We wanted to request if you can just explain to us kindly and with the greatest respect the nature of your disability, because when we received your application, we did see that you had an ID as a person of disability with visual impairment, and indeed it was on the basis of that, and of course you do meet the requirements for this position, that you are shortlisted because you also were a person of disability. So really it's just to ask you to explain, because when we had the day we held the psychometric test and the case study, we had actually gone to some effort to ensure that regardless of your disability, you'd be able to participate fully and undertake the tests. So we had actually gotten the equipment, necessary support, including a separate room. So we were somewhat surprised when you declined this support, and actually you were able to do the test, both the psychometric, which is a digital test, as well as the case study. In fact, you submitted one of the longer case studies for us to consider. So I think in view of that, we just wanted to be sure what is really the nature of your visual impairment, because it would appear you're able to function without any assistance. Please.
Sorry about that, Chair. I don't have the vision in one eye. So I use this eye, and the lenses actually are good and are configured to help. So they kind of magnify a lot when I'm driving or when I'm reading. It's both a reading glass and a lot of other. So that's the disability I have. I don't have vision in one eye. Okay. I lost it. I had 30% when I got the examination, I think in 2016 or 2015 at Mbagathi Hospital, but I've lost it over time. Thank you. But sorry about that.
Not at all.
Yeah, I was trying to get, I think it was Dr. Okello and another colleague, somebody in the secretariat who are trying to help me. And I'm grateful for that, but we couldn't get each other just before the day of the psychometric test. But again, my apologies for that.
Not to worry. Thank you so much, Prof, for that clarification. I'll now ask Mr. Morris Kimuli to ask you a few questions.
Thank you very much, Chair. Professor.
Yes, please.
You say once you finished your term at the Public Service Commission, they called you back. Is that what you said?
Not back at the Public Service Commission. I was a representative of the Public Service Commission at the Kenya School of Government.
So those are the ones who called you back, and you said that you couldn't go back because you had a lot on your plate.
Not necessarily go back. I couldn't go back into council, but I accepted the option in the Human Resource Committee of the council.
Why wouldn't you not go back to the council?
Because it would be a lot of work, Morakimoli, and I thought it would be, I would not give as much as I could in the position of Director of Research, Innovation and Extension at the university, which requires quite a lot of work on my part to raise up the level of research in our university. So I thought the easy option would be to take the Human Resource Committee position. Thank you.
And so this time round, you feel that the commission does not present as much work, doesn't involve as much weight lifting, heavy lifting, as the council would have presented?
It's not much because we meet on a quarterly basis, unless it's it's necessary that we go in for a little longer than 2-3 days. We normally meet probably every quarter in the Human Resource Committee, once a quarter, maybe for 1 day, at most 2 days.
If I get you, let me just help you. What I'm saying is, you are asked to take up a position. It may not have been a full-time position, but you declined the position on account that it might have been entailed a lot of work. You now seek to join a commission which, in the estimation of most of the Kenyans, is a very busy commission. So is it your statement then that normally you would avoid where there is a lot of work?
Mr. Kimoli, it's not, I'm a very good worker. I can tell you that for a fact. If you asked anybody who has worked with me, I am a very good worker. And I think I would like to put the record straight. I was not appointed a member of council. The easy option was to help them, to accept the co-option into the Human Resource Committee of Council. I was not given an appointment as member of council. Sorry about that. But, Mr. Kimoli, I am a good worker.
You are a good worker.
If I got this position, I would, of course, ask my Vice Chancellor and the University Management to give me a leave of absence, if necessary.
That's all right. When you worked at the Public Service Commission for 6 years, did you have any interactions at all with the commission as a partner independent constitutional commission?
I don't remember any opportunity when we had an interaction with the IEBC as such, but other commissions I think we had, at least with the Gender Commission, with the CIC, with the Ombudsman, with the GSC, but not with the IEBC.
Do you think, as an expert in public service, that there is something for the public service within the Electoral Commission?
A lot indeed. In fact, in the area of human resource management, in research, in voter education, because we have experts in the Public Service Commission who could have helped if they needed the help. So there would be a lot to gain if they wanted that assistance if they wanted to. So.
And let me just get this right. IEBC is an independent commission, just like the PSC, the Public Service Commission. Does the Public Service Commission undertake recruitment and management of workforce for the commission, for the Electoral Commission?
It does not. It is an independent commission in that sense, but it does not remove the consultation or collaboration between commissions. It doesn't. We are all Kenyans. We are working for the good people of this country, and there's no reason of one commission consulting, if they think they need some expertise or something they want to work with another commission in, I don't think that would be a problem at all.
Perhaps I need your guidance, and I'm looking at the Constitution that establishes commissions. And I'm looking at the Article 234, which I think it establishes the Public Service Commission, the commission that you served. Mm-hmm. You have the Constitution there, by the way. The first document, that yellow. When you look at Article 234,
yeah,
Article 3 says that, commissions, the following commissions are exempted from the purview of the Public Service Commission. And the state offices are excluded. The offices of High Commissioner, Ambassador, other diplomatic and consular representatives, an office opposition subject to the Parliamentary Service Commission, the Judicial Service Commission, the Teacher Service Commission, the National Police Service Commission. Those are the only offices, and those are the only commissions that are exempted from control by the Public Service Commission. Why do you think the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission did not make it to the list of the commissions that are exempted from oversight by the Public Service Commission? And for your information, we have more independent commissions than the ones listed under Article 234(3). So why do you think only these ones were exempted from control by the Public Service Commission, and particularly the Electoral Commission is not among those?
I don't know why it was exempted from this list here, but the question of independence gives the IEBC or any other commission the mandate to make decisions without reference to anybody outside their mandate and the areas of jurisdiction as provided for in the Constitution.
Prof, that is now at a theoretical level. But having worked with the Public Service Commission for 6 years, I'm sure you interacted with Article 234 that established that commission and gave you powers and responsibilities. You must have noted that it excluded your control over a number of commissions, but it did not exclude your control over other commissions, including IEBC. Is this something you may have discussed as commissioners for 6 years when you are there to ask why?
No, we did not discuss it because IEBC is an independent commission.
Is the Parliamentary Service Commission an independent commission?
Sorry?
Is the Parliamentary Service Commission an independent? Is the Judicial Service Commission an independent commission?
Yes.
IEBC is also an independent commission.
Yes.
But the Constitution bars you from entering into the Parliamentary Service Commission, the Judicial Service Commission, the Teacher Service Commission, the National Police Service Commission, but it does not bar you from getting into IEBC, which is also an independent commission. I'm asking why. Do you think that is so?
I don't think it bars us from working, even with the Parliamentary Service Commission, if they wanted to work with us. I don't think so, really. I mean, consultation is not really working as such. We don't, I mean, whether it is the Parliamentary Service Commission or the Judicial Service Commission or even the TSC mentioned here, or even the IEBC, the Public Service Commission does not recruit staff for them. I mean, that is their function. They recruit their own staff on their own terms. We don't, I mean, we are not mandated to do that. So, but that did not stop them from interacting with us if they wanted to.
That's okay. What I get is that as a commission, you may not have discussed what that particular sub-article means. But tell us, Prof, Article 232 of the Constitution, do you know what it relates to?
Article 232.
This one you would know.
Yeah, I mean, it relates to what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to do it. The principles of the public service.
Principles of the public service. Who is in charge of implementing and oversighting the enforcement of the principles of the public service?
The Public Service Commission.
Only?
I mean, there's a cadre of staff in the public service under the jurisdiction of the Public Service Commission.
No, the principles bind both people working in the national government and in the devolved units. They are cross-cutting, regardless of your stature. If you are serving the public, you're supposed to abide by Article 232. Are you saying that it's only the Public Service Commission that is mandated to oversight compliance with Article 232?
It is not, because the counties have the County Public Service Board working, doing similar things that the Public Service Commission does for the civil service in the counties. Each county has that.
And I get you, because our time is up, you can see already. Mm-hmm. What I'm asking is, if you are sitting as PSC, do you have the mandate to ensure staff at the Electoral Commission comply with Article 232 on the principles of public service?
In essence, you may, but what we did when we were in the Public Service Commission is guide them, give them the guidance that was necessary for them to comply with the requirements of Articles 10 and 232 of the Constitution with regard to the values and principles of public service.
Oh, thank you very much, Professor, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kimuli. I'll now request Dr. F.S. Abdallah to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Professor.
Yes, please.
Good morning once again.
Thank you, Senator.
Allow me to have some conversation so as to establish what could be done by us as Kenyans, you and me, and us here. Professor, I just heard you telling this panel your qualification and experience in setting up and running of the fish processing factories in Kenya and outside Kenya.
My experience in that regard?
And qualification, yes. Just how you had set up, part of your experience, you have set up some food processing, fish processing.
Okay,
and
yeah.
Did you mention Eldoret and Nairobi?
In Eldoret and Nairobi, the kind of food products the company I was working for were involved in were different from fish. They were not. It was not fish.
Okay, let's stick to the fish. I'm
Okay.
interested in the fish processing.
Yeah.
You have been involved in the setting up of fish industries for fish processing and to do anything with fish, right?
Yeah.
Right, Professor. Are you aware, that the Kenyan government has set up the Blue Economy Committee, and in conjunction with the Ministry of Fisheries, they are putting up fish processing plants in Mombasa and I think other parts of the country. Are you aware of this?
I'm aware of that.
Good.
Thank you.
Professor, with this experience and the qualifications, have you got in touch with them to offer your services?
They have experts, but their colleagues, I know quite a number of them. I even have some of my students working for Kemfree and the Fisheries Service. And they know I'm there. In fact, when Professor Ntiba was still the PS, we had a lot of work doing and a lot of consultation, some of the time with regard to the work they do and the work the Kenya Fisheries Service and Kemfree do. So I have colleagues there who know what the experts I have, and they can always consult. But I know.
Yes,
that
Professor, with due respect, I'm talking about the blue economy, right? Because that's fisheries was stuck in fisheries and blue economy in there. I do appreciate they know you're there and they could contact Ntiba and the rest. But where IEBC is concerned, we also know you're there, but you applied, you're offering your services. Did you offer your services to the fisheries in reference to your highly qualifications and experience in the fisheries processing plants?
I did. In fact, there was a time before I came to the Public Service Commission when I was still in Egerton that I consulted because the fishery station in Kalokolo and Lake Turkana were doing some work, and I had a discussion with Professor Ntiba that time when he was PS to help if they needed my help. So I had a discussion with them actually, and they know my expertise exists, and I'm always here for them.
Okay, I hope the fisheries departments and the blue economy are watching and still feel that you're still there available to assist them in whatever you could. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Prof, I'm sure you know the word SWOT. SWOT, SWOT,
Yes.
right?
SWOT, yeah.
Yeah, SWOT, of course, strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. Let's allow a small conversation between you and me, and the rest could follow up. Right. The study normally finds that 35% discrepancy between the organization's objectives and what was actually implemented. Many a times the problem is not that the employees are or were incompetent, but that the objectives were too ambiguous. Many employees didn't or don't even know why they were doing what they were doing, Prof. What's your opinion? Could this be the case at IEBC, from what you hear, from what we read in the papers about the Secretariat and the Commission?
I don't think, I'm not sure because I don't work for the IEBC. But of course, maybe like you and other Kenyans, we read a lot in the papers. Maybe you meet some of the people working in there. It is possible that there could have been, I don't know. I don't work for the IEBC. I'm not an insider in the IEBC. But it's possible that sometimes people fail to do what they're supposed to do for a number of reasons. They could be personal. They could be environmental where they work. They could have something to do with leadership and a lot of other factors in the workplace that determine whether you engage or you disengage, you work little or you do quite a bit, and so on.
Right. So, Prof, it will be not appropriate for me to ask you whether you are able to sort from what you read as to what is going on. One doesn't need to be in the IEBC to analyze the situation. And you being a leader and you create leaders, I'm sure your intelligence and experience, academically and in life, you're 65 years old. Could you please share what you think? Not necessarily that you have to work there to be able to sort out what could be happening.
What I could do, Dr. Abdallah, thank you for that question. What I could do if I was given this position, for example, and had the opportunity to go in there and examine what's happening in the IEBC, if things are not working with staff, would be to call in an external consultant. Of course, the IEBC commissioners who oversight the operations of the commission through working with the CEO, they should be able to know what their problems are. And if they call in a consultant, because it's always good when you get to that stage to call in an eye from outside, if you have the resources to do that, give them a good set of terms of reference for them to look at. Don't be, say exactly what their problems are and give room to staff and anybody, as many stakeholders as possible, to give them the information they need to be able to table before you to solve problems like that.
Yes, Prof, I appreciate that. My question is, are you able to sort it out, SWOT, from being outside?
You are not able to do that exactly from outside. You have to go inside. That's why I would rather call somebody to help out, because sometimes being inside may not be the easiest way to solve all the problems. So, that's why an external person sometimes would be good to bring in.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdallah. Prof, I'll now request Mr. Gideon Solonka to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Prof. I'll begin by giving you this scenario question. There's this voter who registered himself as a voter in Embakasi South constituency using his national identity card. Okay? On the election day, he produces his Kenyan passport as his identification document. Kindly tell us if that voter will be eligible to vote on that day, and maybe you can briefly address us on eligibility to vote as provided in our laws.
I don't know whether he'd be eligible to vote, because what may have been registered in the register of voters or whatever kit was used to register him would have been the ID card and would have the numbers. I know it's possible that I'm not sure if the passport would have the ID card number. But most likely, of course, not likely, but it would be correct to say that it's possible that the names as presented on the ID may be registered in the kit or the register, for that matter, of voters, may be similar to what you could have on the passport. But there may be complications because I'm not sure the clerks and the presiding officer at the station where this person may have registered could take that voter because there's a difference in the document he used to vote. He registered with. He did not register with a passport. He registered with the ID card.
So are you aware what the law says about such a scenario?
I know that as long as you are a Kenyan citizen and you are a registered voter in a specific polling station, and of course you are having an ID and having registered, of course you are supposed to be an adult, person, and so he would have been expected to be able to vote in that station. But if there are complications with the documents he used to register, that might bring complications with regard to his eligibility for voting in that respect.
Okay, Prof, the identification documents produced during registration is what you must use at the time of voting. Okay? Now, how is the Speaker of a county assembly elected?
The Speaker of the Assembly, I think applies. There's an advert. There would be an advertisement for the position. People would apply, and the county members of the county assembly would have to sit down, interview the person, and if they are qualified with regard to the qualifications put in the advert, then they could take them as a Speaker of the county assembly.
Okay, so who qualifies to be elected or to vie for that position of a speaker?
A Speaker of a county assembly, because his work approximates to that of the speakers of the Senate and that of the National Assembly in our country, would have to have the requisite qualifications to be able to guide the deliberations, the legislation, and so on, work of the county assembly. So the qualifications would have to, it would preferably be somebody who has a law degree, maybe an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. After qualifying from the Kenya School of Law, he may have had some experience that may have been put into the advert, and probably, of course, a Kenyan citizen. And any other qualifications that the advert would require.
Can an elected member of county assembly stand for that position as a speaker?
No, they cannot. They have to resign if they want to do that. They have to resign their position as a member of the county assembly, and then they can apply for this other position. They can't.
Fair enough. Okay, does IEBC have a role in the election of a speaker in a county assembly?
If they are asked to, they can help. If they are asked to, they can help.
But is there any legal requirement?
There's no legal requirement from the point of view of the county assembly. But with regard to the mandate of the IEBC, they can help out. Just like, for example, they could help out with nominations and party elections of a registered party in this country, for example.
So it is your answer that a county assembly can request IEBC to come and preside over the election of a speaker of the assembly?
Yes, Mr. Solanka.
You sure of that?
I think they can. There's no reason why they should not.
Okay. And are you aware who presides over the elections of a speaker of a county assembly in law?
A lot of the time, like for example, in my county, I have seen the judicial officers, a magistrate based in Lodwar. I think I've seen them overseeing the election of a speaker of the county assembly in
Overseen or presiding?
I mean presiding, sorry.
Presiding. So a magistrate can preside?
Yeah, he can.
He can. Okay.
Thank you.
You may need to look at the first schedule of the Elections Act.
Okay.
It's the clerk of the assembly who presides over. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes. Now, there's also this issue of the ballot papers. Where do they get their ballot papers to conduct an election of a county assembly?
I really don't know where they would get their ballot papers, but you know, there are bodies in this country who can help in that process of acquisition of ballot papers. I mean, they could get the services of the IEBC, they could get the services of the National Assembly, they could get you know, the service of the Senate. I think it's possible for them to do that. But they can also put out on their own, because they're an independent body, they can also advertise, they can put out a public tender for the supply of ballot papers. I mean, the clerk can do that.
Can do what?
He can, I mean, as part of the process of procurement, I mean, they would be able to know where to source for the ballot papers and other materials they require.
Okay, again for your information, because this will lead to my next question, the law allows the clerk of the assembly to prepare ballot papers. Okay? Now, if that be the case, that they can do that, and we've had elections of speakers done in the country. We have 47 in all the 47 counties. Assume that you become a commissioner, IEBC commission. What will you do to ensure that we do not source our ballot papers outside Kenya in order for us to reduce the expenses that IEBC incurs by going for these ballot papers out of the country? What is the magic of having a ballot paper outside Kenya, not one that is done locally? And what will you do as a commissioner to address that issue?
There will be no magic at all. There will be no reason. I mean, a ballot paper, I believe, is just a ballot paper. But I think it's possible that the IEBC can establish its own capability to be able to do that. I think they can. I mean, I've seen a number of, like, for example, the Kenya School of Government, or even other constitutional commissions setting up funds, or even in this country, there's a National Research Fund, and the capability has been developed in the ministry to be able to establish that. So the IEBC can also develop their capability and establish that. And then they supply cheaper ballot papers to other entities in this country that would require them.
Thank you, Prof. And lastly, what is a ballot box?
A ballot box would be a box that would contain ballots. They could, I mean, in this country, I think there would be a ballot box for presidential ballots, a senator's ballot.
Just describe a ballot box the way the law would want us to have in a...
It's a box with an opening at the top where you just drop in, and then there's a lock, you know, it's sealed. And then there's an opening at the top where you drop in the ballot when you are voting.
Okay, and also it must be a transparent box container, okay?
Thank you,
Prof.
Yeah, no, on the side it's transparent. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Prof, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Mr. Solanka.
Thank you so much, Mr. Solonka. I'll now request Madam Elizabeth Mayo to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Chair. How are you, Professor?
Thank you, lady.
Yeah, Professor, I want to take you to the case study you did. You were with us on 30th June, and you gave us very good write-up here on case study.
Thank you.
From some of the issues you identified, what you told us is that the responses to what you can do to address the challenges, one, on the 1 million voters who are still in the register, 2 million youth who actually don't have ID so they can't register, and on inadequate voter education. So what you said, 3 critical things is, one, you will remain open for complaints, if any, if you are appointed. 2, you will give solutions to any problem that may arise and that can jeopardize free and fair elections. Then the third one, you said you will hold free and fair elections and cultivate public trust. And you will remain fair, transparent to all stakeholders. I've gotten it right.
Yeah.
Please tell us how you will achieve this.
Now, the IEBC really has the mandate and mandate to do all that I've mentioned in that. The question of ensuring free and fair elections is in the legislation that makes the IEBC do the work they are supposed to do. As long as elections are simple, they are verifiable, they are transparent, and it's credible, there is all the likelihood, if the IEBC puts logistics in place and they have adequate resources to be able to do that and achieve that, then they can guarantee a high sense of transparency in election matters. The other one is, which is the other one? The other one is
building, cultivating public trust.
Public trust.
Yeah.
Cultivating public trust requires that the IEBC engages with the public. They identify the problems, whether they're internal or external to them, that create that mistrust from the public in their work. And it's incumbent upon them that they should address that, because, if they cannot win the public trust, in fact, that may lead to voter apathy. It could be a reason for a lot of people not wanting to vote at all. So they have to cultivate, and they have no option really. It's part of their mandate, and they have to do it if they want the Kenyan public to vote. So they have to engage them, identify the problem, engage them, get the resources, evaluate the effectiveness of the strategies they're using to get to those people, be open in the engagement, and try as much as possible to solve the problems that are creating the public trust.
Okay, thank you, Professor. You also said that you'll remain open for complaints, if any. Remain open. So how will you remain open, and how will you get complaints?
You can institute mechanisms.
Yeah.
You have, for example, the Directorate for Voter Registration and Partnerships in IEBC. I think that's the name. There should be an opportunity for them to create an avenue, or even a small office or a small number of people to take complaints, because that's part of transparency. That's what really transparency means. And so if you believe in that transparency, and it's part of the way you're supposed to work, there's no reason why you should not listen to genuine complaints, try to solve, give them genuine solutions, as long as you want to solve the problem. So within that time, there should be a window provided for people to take in complaints. You can, this is part really of public engagement also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. My next question will be on a report, observation report, which was given in 2017 by the Carter Center. Yeah? And it was noted that while voter education workshops followed the same agenda, because there were various workshops, in some instances, trainers relayed inconsistent information about the marking of ballots. the participation of agents, and the validity of ballots, among other issues, which means there was no standardization. If you are appointed as commissioner today, how would you ensure that training of election officials in Turkana is the same as relayed in Mombasa?
First of all, the most important thing is a curriculum. Draw a curriculum, draw the same content, draw the same delivery method, and if possible, make sure that the people delivering in Turkana and in Mombasa are trained to the same extent. You have evaluated their ability to convey similar information in both places. And of course, at the end of the day, you have to keep surveillance. You have to make sure that what they're supposed to deliver is delivered.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that response. If you are to develop a curriculum for voter education just the way you have said, what specific issues would you include or would you take into account?
First of all, the result is you want, for example, an increase in voter numbers. You want anybody who is registered to come and vote in the station where they registered. So knowing the problem, you would make sure, voter education is one aspect of ensuring that people go to vote and also getting confidence. They should be confident that the voting process is not going to be interfered with, their choices are not going to be interfered with, and their vote counts. So if you can get the confidence of the voter, if you can make the conditions good enough for the voter to exercise their rights without interference, without favor, or without whatever impedes their voting, there should be no reason why why you should not get the voter to do it with the processes that are set in, as long as the voter is confident and they are sure that they are going to exercise their right.
What about the right to register as a voter? Will you include it in your curriculum or only those two aspects you have talked of?
It is part of the process of registration. Being a Kenyan citizen, of adult and sound mind and so on and so on, there's no that's really why you are going out there to get them to register and to vote. So they have that right. You cannot take it away from them.
So you will include it in your curriculum?
Yeah,
I'm worried because you have only talked of two things.
It should.
Yeah, to be included in the curriculum.
You should say that. They have the right. That's why you are taking that step to do that for them.
Okay, we can move to the next question because of time. I want to refer you again to another report, 2017. According to the observation report 2017, polling officials were harassed and intimidated. In some areas, simply showing up for work was perceived as supporting one side of the political divide. Yeah? It was also reported that a week before the election, IEBC trainings were attacked and disrupted by gangs of youths in some areas. If you are appointed today, Professor, how would you have handled this situation?
Before you carry out, I would have probably gone in, before I carried out the exercise, whatever that would be, to find out what the environment is like. Some kind of intelligence reports, things you can get, for example, by talking to the county commissioner or the police commander and other people, or it's good always before you go into a place to do work like that to know what the environment is like. But then at the same time also, you cannot also go in until you know that the venue and the work you're going to do is going to succeed. So you need some semblance and some kind of security, because you have to get the work done. It would be good to involve, knowing the situation on the ground, to involve maybe the police, get some security, get to know the county commissioner or the assistant or the deputy for that matter, get their help, get them to know that you are doing this, and let them put the mechanisms in place if you don't have the security already, to be able to help to make sure that it succeeds.
Okay, thank you. In your own assessment as somebody, I believe you voted in 2017.
Yes.
What do you think IEBC got right, and what do you think they missed? And how do you think it can be remedied?
One of the things I noted, for example, was the opening of the stations a bit late.
Okay.
The stations opened a bit late. And then there were some which opened early, in good time, but then went beyond the time they were supposed to close, which I thought was an irregularity. But there may have been reasons for that. I was not an official because I voted and went away. There may have been other interruptions, I don't know. But I also know, for example, in my county, that a lot of people did not vote. So there was a lot of voter apathy. I don't believe the 50% mark was even achieved. I don't think they even got the 40% of the people who had registered to vote. If I had the opportunity, if I got this position, for example, the training and getting people who are committed to their work is important. It's important that the logistics are right. I'm not saying that mistakes cannot be made. I'm not saying that delays cannot be caused. It is possible, but voters should be given the opportunity if there's need for an extension, but not if it was not necessary. Voting should start as early as possible, in time. Materials should be in place in time. Logistics should be good enough. And what may be more difficult is to get people to come out and vote.
Okay. So you have mentioned voter apathy as one issue. What do you think is the cause of voter apathy in this country?
You have just mentioned the issue of violence, for example.
Yeah, tell us.
Unfortunately, that is something that you still see in voting places across our country, or even before that time, or even outside the jurisdiction where the security apparatus is taking care of the elections. And a lot of that is caused by young people, unfortunately. I don't know, the instigation maybe of politicians. I think what we can do, really, and again, I go to the matter of engagement. Get the youth, get the politicians, talk to them, let them know that it's in their best interest, because getting good representatives is really very critical in any constituency or ward in this country. It's the only way they can be assured of a good future, if they get a good leader, not through manipulation or interfering with the voting process and issues like that.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I'll now request the Vice Chair to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, yes, Professor, I'll be very brief. Professor, what motivates you to go for this job? What motivates you to go for the job of Commissioner of IEBC? You have a very, I find a very, very attractive responsibility. that you are holding, which you and engaged in an area that you love most, research. Why do you want to move from research to go and sit on a board that is just overseeing political matters and matters to do with elections?
Thank you so much for that question. When I worked in the Public Service Commission, I'm not saying I don't like my job. It's a beautiful job, it's a good job, I like it. And I see the results and I'm happy. I want to make a difference wherever I go and whatever work I do. When I worked at the Public Service Commission, I saw that I found out with the work we did under the Kenya School of Government also, it impacted a lot. And I thought when I applied for this job that enthusiasm, that ability to go for results, that passion I have and commitment, I could make a difference because it looks like the IEBC has been ailing for some time. Of course, I'm not going to solve all the problems. I can't because you go in there, you are working as a commissioner, among others, you arrive at decisions on consensus basis and so on and so on. It's not an easy job, I know that. But I think I can make a difference. I think I have the capability to be able to influence and influence positively and make a difference in the IBC. If you gave me the position, if you nominate, you recommended me for nomination by His Excellency the President and approval by Parliament and his appointment.
Yeah, that's fine. But, you know, when you say your mission is to make a difference in what area? And you talk of ailing. What is ailing IBC? That you would target and say, if I go in there, these things with my drive and energy I'll fix. What are those things that you think are ailing the electoral body?
The one area where I think I could make a difference is in creating harmony between staff and commissioners, because it looks like it's an area that is not functioning well. I think I could bring that harmony. Another area where I could make a difference is in research. I know a lot of research work goes, for example, into the reasons for apathy. There's no reason why that could not form an agenda of research for the Commission. There's no reason why, for example, the solution to disputes with political parties, with staff, with other stakeholders cannot form an agenda of research. And so on and so on. Or even the delimitation of boundaries when that would be the thing the IBC would be carrying out. The other area where I think I could make a difference is in education. I have taught for over 30 years at the university level. I've interacted across the breadth of this country with stakeholders in a lot of the counties. I know the problems in a lot of them. I think I could help in respect of education and get the IBC to do well in that respect.
So we are getting into an election, an election year, 2022. Kenyans would like to see peaceful, fair, accountable elections. What, if you were to be commissioner, what would you do? Research is long-term, education is long-term. What would you do as a commissioner? What role would you play to ensure that Kenyans have credible elections compared to what we've had in the past? What do you have in mind that you take to the IBC that would impact on the 2022 elections that would give us credible elections?
I'm not going to work in isolation with the other commissioners. I believe that the commissioners, as they are, they also want to carry out and be seen to deliver credible, fair, and transparent elections. There must be reasons why they have failed in the past. And the thing, when I go in there, if I went in there, would be to find out why they have failed and try to address those issues with courage, with honesty. As long as we want to get that done, we want credible elections, there will be no reason. I don't think with logistics and faith and good systems, there would be no reason for them.
You know,
to
Professor,
deliver.
I expected that by your wishing to go into the commission, you already have done your research and you know what has not worked, what has worked, and what has not worked. And you know that if I get in there, 1, 2, 3, I'll be able to focus on that. So that, because we don't have time. The moment the 4 commissioners are appointed, what Kenyans expected from them is to hit the ground running. And
one of the things I would do, sorry for the interruption, is get the harmony going between the commissioners and members of staff. Get everybody to prepare. Prepare the ground, whatever that is. Get political parties. Address their problems. Let them promise you within the law, because the law is there, that it's in the interest of both of them, the public and the commission, to deliver credible, transparent elections. Get the undertaking from them that they are going to do that. They are going to support you. Get the National Treasury, get the executive to give you the resources that you need to put everything in place. Get the materials in good time, and so on and so on. Thank you.
all those things you have mentioned involve challenges. If you were to face challenges in getting some of these things to happen, how would you handle it?
The thing to do is to be able sometimes, often, not sometimes, but often anticipate challenges. If you anticipate challenges, you are able to find solutions before you get to those challenges. So the thing is to anticipate some of the problems from some of those activities you are undertaking. So let's go to do a risk analysis if you can. There's no reason why you should not do that, because that helps you to prepare for those challenges and meet them, provide solutions so that at least you are able to succeed to a given and a large extent.
Let's take the challenge of technology, which has been a major problem. It was a major problem in 2017. It remains a problem. How would you tackle the challenge of technology in elections?
I'm not an ICT expert as such, but if the system the IEBC has been using is not robust enough, then replace it with a system that's robust, it's simple to maintain, and it's simple to operate. 2, get good experts to maintain and train people adequately, the presiding officers in every station. When you get to that stage of employing them and identifying them, get them trained. Make sure that they are able to deliver the results in the best way possible, in the way you want them done. Also, if you can, ensure that there's some backup, because, human Errors are always there. Systems fail. So have some backup for systems in case they fail. But more importantly, prepare well so that you get a system that is easy to maintain, easy to operate, and delivers in the shortest time possible, and is affordable, and so on and so on.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. I'll now request Reverend Father Mutie to ask you a few questions, Prof.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning, Father.
Earlier on, you said in your career life, there was a moment you declined to render your services to some institutions so that you can go back to Turkana and establish the Fishermen Cooperative Society. Is that true?
Yes, please.
Was it a paid job or a volunteer job? Were you volunteering?
It was a paying job.
So it was not service to the people of Turkana, to the community, that is.
I believe whether a job is paid or not paid, it's a service, because at the end of the day, it's the quality of service that matters. And because I did the best I could and delivered as needed, I thought I gave good service to my people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A quick one. What are your values?
My values. I value a good reputation. And a good reputation for me is the value of honesty, value of hard work, value of being able to be trusted. I value reliability. I would like anybody who works with me to know that I am reliable, I am loyal, I am honest, and I do the best I can to make sure that I deliver on whatever assignment I'm given. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Allow me to also look into some of the areas you touched earlier on. You worked as a commissioner for 6 years until 2019, from 2013 to 2019, is it? And now you want to be a commissioner for another 6 years. Is a commissioner allowed to apply to become a commissioner just immediately after they just ended their term?
I don't think anything further stops me from applying for this position. And if you recommended me and His Excellency the President appointed me, as long as of course I'm capable, there's no reason why I should offer my service, because I don't think anything really stops me from asking for this. I feel that I could get good service going.
Now, Professor, in our way of thinking, is that you are advancing the agenda for the people with a disability. In all the interactions with the panel members, we have not, for myself, I've not seen you or heard you mention anything that you've done to champion their agenda. In a way, do you understand the challenges that face people with disabilities?
I do, and in my county, I've gone to the extent of asking people in the County Public Service Board of Turkana to make sure that in their recruitment process, in their training processes, in their promotional processes, they always include people with disabilities. I've also reached out to people in the county executive to ensure that people with disability are taken care of in terms of training opportunities for those who have not gone to school in trade, in helping those who are in school advance their livelihoods through that. I've also gone to the extent of encouraging registration of persons with disability in Turkana County. I've talked to people in the county executive and other areas where I have interacted with the public for them to make sure that they do that, because the registration level is very low, unfortunately.
Now, Professor, that is in Turkana. You've been working at the national level as a commissioner of public service, in the Commission of Public Service of Kenya. At the national level, what agenda have you, forwarded or fronted for the people with disabilities?
When I was working at the Public Service Commission, and every time we know that the level of people in the public service, those who are employees in the civil service, more specifically, are less than 1%. We should have at least 5% of the public service being people with disability. What we did all the time when we were recruiting was that we ensured that everybody who was meritorious, who qualified and had disability, got into the shortlist, whether it was promotional or whether it was or first-time recruitment or whatever it was. I also did that at the Kenya School of Government when I chaired the Human Resources Committee. I made sure every time, of course, that was uppermost in my mind every time, and we have done that, and we have really done very well at the Kenya School of Government. And the progressive attainment of that level, I think, is ongoing in the Public Service Commission, and they're doing a good job in that respect. We set the standards, we set the processes, and I think they're doing that. And they're also doing that in the ministries and other agencies of government. So the agenda is there, people are doing it, and I think, we hope within a few years, at least that mark will be achieved. Thank you.
Now, you're applying to be a commissioner at IEBC. What areas do you think have been left out in the management of IEBC on matters that concern people with disability?
Seeing, for example, at the voting stations, they don't have gadgets that they can use. That's one thing I've observed in the polling stations. That is not there. Instead, of course, there are helpers, the people who help them. I mean, that is, of course, still the same to a large extent also in the public service. And then also the facilities where the stations where polling takes place, the facilities were not provided in a lot of the areas I've gone to. And that is something that's been left out, and I think it's something that they can advance and something they can provide. Maybe also, I mean, and especially, so any special need for people like that should be provided. I mean, that should be an area now that IBC could get itself into.
Professor, umeongea kuhusu changamoto za walemavu. Now, ni jambo gani utafanya kuhakikisha hizo changamoto na zinginezo zitaangaliwa kama utakuwa commissioner wa IEBC?
Kitu cha kwanza ambacho nitafanya nikiwa commissioner katika IEBC, ni kuhakikisha ya kuwa kuna mjadala kati yetu kama commissioner, kutengeza policy ya kuweza kuwatumikia walemavu ipasavyo na kuweka mikakati pale kwenye stesheni na kwenye county ambazo kuwasaidia hao katika juhudi zao za kupiga kura na mambo mengine ambazo zinawahitaji watafanya kwa maisha yao katika mambo ya kura.
Ni hiyo tu, Profesa?
Kuna mengi unajua sasa pia sio sisi peke yake ambao tutafanya hivyo, lazima pia tushirikiane na wengine ambao wako nje, serikalini, kwenye wizara, NGOs na shirika nyingine za kiserikali, zisizo za serikali, pia county government, serikali za county na wengine lazima pia watoe njia zao za kuweza kuwasaidia na kuwainua.
Asante Profesa.
Nashukuru.
Asante Chair.
Thank you so much, Reverend Father. Prof, I have a general knowledge question for you. You applied to join the IEBC as a member of the commission. Should you become a member of the commission, you will be working closely with the Secretariat. It's headed by our CEO. So the question is, who is the current acting CEO of the IEBC? What's the name of the acting CEO of the IEBC?
I think Mr. Marjan.
Yeah.
Marjan, somebody Marjan.
Marjan Hussein Marjan. Well done.
Thank you.
So, Prof, we've come to the end of your oral interview. I can invite you to make any remarks you may have to the panel at this time.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Vice Chairperson, and members. It is indeed a privilege, because if I look at the 669 people who applied, and you whittle that number to 36, and the son of a nomad, the name of Michael Lokurukalo Anapo, was among that. It was a privilege, Chair and members, and thank you for that privilege. Of course, I know I'm a citizen of this country, and I deserve it, as long as I'm meritorious, and so on. I must also congratulate you because, you know, that 36, if I look at it, and I look at Article 232 and the provisions therein, you have provided, the selection process for the 36 is fair, meritorious, it's represented the breadth of this country in terms of women and men, in terms of disability, in terms of the youth, in terms of the communities, the diversity of our country. So I congratulate you for that. That is really something we have learned. If you look at the media, if you look at the social media, and that is a talking point. So it's a good thing. Congratulations, Chair and members. It's a good thing. And I'm sure it's something everybody is going to pick in this country. Lastly, Chair, on behalf of the good people of Turkana, today in the morning, Chair, when I woke up, I found 20 messages of goodwill on my phone. I said, my God, His will be done. So, on behalf of the good people of Turkana, my friends around this country, my institution, and other places, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. You're doing a good job. God bless you. God bless Turkana. And God bless this country, Kenya. Thank you. Asanteni.
Thank you so much, Prof, for your kind words. And on behalf of this panel and the people of Kenya, we also want to appreciate you for seeking to serve this country in the position of member of IEBC. We don't take it for granted when Kenyans are patriotic enough. So we do wish you well, and please pass our greetings to the people of Turkana, and we wish you a good rest of the day. I will ask a member of the Secretariat to escort you out, and please ensure you have all your certificates, your IDs, and we wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and God bless each of you. Thank you.
God bless you too. We now come to the end of this interview. We will resume at 11:30 for the next interview. Thank you.